Surprise, surprise. There's more Switch 2 things to talk about. We have a very interesting statement coming to us from Douglas Bowser of Nintendo of America, president of Nintendo of America, talking about the price of the Nintendo Switch 2 console. Yesterday, we talked about the games and the interesting explanation given as to why Mario Kart World is an $80 game, why Donkey Kong Bonanza is a $70 game, why Nintendo Switch 2 Tech Demo is a $10 game. It seems like there's going to be a myriad of different pricing. Make sure you guys check out that video yesterday for the full quote and my full thoughts on it. But when it comes to the hardware side of things, there's been lots of questions back and forth about it, and Douglas Bowser had something to say about that. But before we get into that, we actually have a bit of an update on the Nintendo Switch 2 Edition games because, well, I feel like this has just been adding to a lot of confusion. Of course, the Nintendo Switch 2 Edition games are Nintendo Switch 1 games that are enhanced to a level where they have to charge you money if you currently own the game. $10 for graphical updates. We actually did learn from Bill Trinan, actually, of Nintendo of America, confirmed that the Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom updates will be $10. So suffice to say, when it is story-related content, it is a $20 upgrade, much like we saw with Kirby and the Forgotten Land and Super Mario Party Country Bear Jamboree. But there were some questions about how that was going to be done. If you look on the box art of these Nintendo Switch 2 Edition games, it says that it's a Nintendo Switch 1 game with the Switch 2 enhancements. Like, what does that actually mean? Why are we talking about a Switch 1 game? This is the Switch 2 Edition. Furthermore, allegedly, somebody in the UK reached out to Nintendo of the UK's customer service and asked about this situation and was given a response stating that it was going to be a download code for the additional content with the Switch 1 version of the game. So people went nuts over this because it's kind of like, well, what's the point of this then? You know, why is it? It's not really a physical version of the game if everything is not on the cartridge. I made a video about this. Lots of people did. I at least tried to say allegedly because this is just one report. And now we have a conflicting report coming from customer service of Nintendo of America. So do you believe the Americans? Do you believe the British? I don't know. I'm going to leave it up to you. So Nathaniel Rumpelstiltskin, Nintendo Prime, reached out to My Nintendo store and asked the question, and they sent him an email back saying, "Thank you for contacting My Nintendo store regarding your query. If you purchase a Nintendo Switch 2 edition of a game on physical format, you will receive one cartridge with the upgrade already in it. However, if you had the game for Nintendo Switch 1 and were to purchase the expansion update, you would then receive a digital download code regardless if you have it on digital or physical format. If you have any further queries, do not hesitate to contact us. Kind regards, My Nintendo Store team." So according to this customer service representative, this is going to be the case. It's actually all on the cartridge. Now, this is a little bit interesting. And then a video talking about misinformation and using one of my videos as part of misinformation. Let's put this on me. Let's not go down that road. Let's not go down that road. Nintendo Prime. I don't dislike you. All right. I think you're an all right guy. Let's keep it that way. But those things aside, I do find this whole situation just adding to the confusion. I don't necessarily think people were, trying to misinform people. It's just that there's so many questions about this, and Nintendo themselves have not done a very good job of explaining things. If they're so quick to contact, GameStop and GameSpot and IGN to let them know that they have to delay pre-orders, you would think basic questions that are gaining steam online in terms of various things that they have announced but have poorly explained would be quickly rectified. But it seems like that hasn't necessarily been the case. The onus is not on the consumer. The onus is on the company to explain things in a proper and clear and concise manner so that people aren't confused going into this. I think the whole situation is very interesting, to say the least. It kind of goes into a lot of the sort of just different things that the Nintendo Switch 2 is doing. But if this is the case, if it is all on the cartridge, and this customer service representative was 100% accurate and the one in the UK was wrong, then great. But I'm still not 100% sure on that yet because now it's two conflicting reports from different customer service areas, one in the US and one in the UK. Now, I'm sure we'll learn about this sooner rather than later, and I would hope that it's all on the cartridge, but time will tell with this. Time will tell. But it's not the only thing we got to talk about because we got to talk about the price of the Nintendo Switch 2 itself because Doug Bowser gave a very interesting quote that I don't think is very good news. Honestly, I don't think it's very good news if you are paying attention to the tariff situation in the world because so many people were quick to say that's why the system is $450, that's why Mario Kart World is $80 because of tariffs. And then we learned it didn't really have anything to do with tariffs when it comes to Mario Kart World. Like we talked about yesterday, it is Nintendo's new way of pricing things based on how long the game is going to last you and how long it took for them to develop and the amount of work they put into it, so on and so forth. Now, with the Nintendo Switch 2 console price itself, I thought $450 was very reasonable. When you look at competitively priced different mini PCs that you have, the handheld PCs, I should say, this is cheaper than that. This is more powerful than a Steam Deck. It runs games better than a Steam Deck, and it has a better screen than the Steam Deck OLED does. And this is an LCD screen, taking into account the ROG Ally X. That's a bit of a better comparison in terms of like performance and, the screen itself, but that's an $800 system. So $450 seems very reasonable for this. And many people were like, oh, it's $450 because of tariffs. And well, this is what Doug had to say. Good old Douglas. Put the April 2nd announcement aside. Any previous tariffs were not factored into the price itself. The news is fresh, and like many companies right now, we are actively assessing what the impact may be. And it's funny because so many people were quick to call Doug Bowser a liar and say that it was tariff related. Even after giving this quote, they're like, oh, this is PR. This is a PR spin. And it's like, yes, it's a PR spin. He wants bad public relations for Nintendo. He wants Nintendo to look greedy. If he would have said, hey, tariffs are obviously playing a role and stuff like that, that is a much safer answer. That is a much more PR answer because now you're giving leeway to the price point that some people are upset with. When you're saying it has nothing to do with the tariffs, you're pretty much saying this is the price we set out for it to be. And like I said, I think $450 is very reasonable, but this is a pre-tariff pricing with this, which means that if this sort of stuff continues on, that the price will potentially go up. This was factoring in the current economic situation before the new tariffs were imposed. Now, could, tariffs have played a small role in something like that? Like, I don't know, because I think if it did, you would just come out and say it. You would just say what is happening. You would put the blame onto someone else to make your PR look good. So what does that mean for the price of this system? Could it go up? I mean, maybe. And I think this will kind of be a telltale sign because allegedly it's being reported that there are already Nintendo Switch 2 systems in the United States sitting at warehouses, which to me begs the question, well, if they're already here, you already got some shipments here, why are we delaying the pre-orders? If you're not going to change the price or you're not going to change anything, why are you delaying the pre-orders in the United States? You've already said they're $450 for the base system, $500 for the pack-in bundle with Mario Kart World. If you're still going to do that price, what's the point of delaying pre-orders unless you're going to be adjusting something? It's not set in stone, so don't worry too much about the price of the system as far as at least initially, but things are going to be changing, man. My hope is that all this tariff nonsense gets figured out and, people realize things and, maybe we have to do exemptions from tariffs, like toys are going up in price, and obviously I buy a lot of toys. Video games look like, consoles could be going up in price because of stuff like this. I hope that there are exemptions at the very least. I'm not a socioeconomic or political expert or anything like that. I am simply just talking about what is happening on the video game side of things, and there's a chance you might see a price increase on this. So That's what I've got for you guys today. A little bit of good news, I guess, potentially, and then a little bit of bad news, potentially. What do you think about all this stuff, though? Would you be surprised if the price of the Nintendo Switch 2 does go up? And what would you be willing to pay for the Switch 2 system? Could Nintendo potentially lower the price of games, raise the price of the system in order to appease people? I mean, I would have rather them done that anyways, because at least with the console, it is a one-time purchase. You know, if I bought this system at $500 and I got my games for 60, with a few outliers being 70, in the long run, that would be cheaper for me, but you know, that's just me. Let me know what you think of everything in the comment section down below. And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. If you are new to the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Be sure to like, comment, share. Hit the bell as well. There could be another video today. Who knows? Who really knows with all of this sort of stuff? And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.